Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Welcome back to the Behavioral Blueprint Podcast with your host, Solana. Hi. I want to be able to say thank you to everybody that is listening in this moment, and also, of course, just staying consistent with me and my inconsistencies. I realized actually this episode, in filming this episode with all the different cuts and stuff, that I actually love using the word basically podcaster's block. I've had podcaster's block for a moment in time. I'd say ever since I haven't really been consistent. And I also have had a lot of basically behind the scenes not knowing how to properly consistently produce. And that was super hard for me to realize at first until I realized I have enough basically made. I just have to get up and get it done. And that's kind of what the focus of this episode is basically telling myself, why not me? I definitely do, of course, want to go into it. But before I go into it, I definitely would love for all of my listeners to know that this podcast is focused in on you understanding more about yourself and you delving into the behavior of why your actions are actions in the first place. And after, of course, we understand the actions that we face and actions that we deal with because we're baddies, we go into understanding the behavior. And then the behavior can help us learn that it's not just us. It's really what we're tied to. And it's really what makes sense to us at the time that the behavior began. The first segment, we're going to focus on the idea that you already being here is enough evidence that you are chosen. To live is to experience. I've had this in my podcast notes on my phone for like months. I'm not gonna lie. And it's always been something that has made me realize how much I'm so valuable in a lot of spaces. I recently went to basically like an EP release listening party that was basically teasing what the artist's point was and what she was wanting to define every listener to understand. Of course, so many different people got visuals, so many people even, of course, had great experience walking in, walking out of the event. I think the most important thing that Callie did amazing in was being able to cultivate an experience that made everyone solely feel safe. I felt like every single person that I walked through or even met, I've became friends with. And the next time that I have a conversation with them, we're going to reference back to how we met and then also how great of an experience that was. I know for a certain fact that I can cultivate something like that, but the bigger purpose of why I know I'm here is not just to be able to help people, but to be able to solely help people find themselves. And that's exactly what Callie did. So I think a lot of the people that were attendees at the event understood their purpose, but then also understood the curiosity in that and also even the purpose of why they're even here. Also, y'all go stream Callie Flowers. Her new EP is coming out this Friday, so shout out to my girl. And also, again, the last sentence. We are here to experience the life that we are wanting to live. I shouldn't feel like I'm chained up in these huge chains wanting to basically just feel validated in that setting and feeling like I'm in a prison. That's not the life that, of course, I would want to live. But then also, let's look at why we act the way we act in this mindset of thinking that, okay, we're really not enough. Okay, we're really not in that space of, can I actually do this thing? Can I actually go to college? Can I go back to college? Can I actually think about the goals that I want to enlist? Can I actually lose this weight? Can I actually take this training? Can I actually go to the gym? Can I actually do even, I would say, the small things? I have gotten to a point where I had a very severe attachment to distractions and things that alleviate what I would say is stress. And if I continue to live that way, I won't be able to further experience what I need to experience. And that is for me to, again, delve into my purpose. I said that earlier when we were talking about the EP release listening party, but a lot of people are comfortable with not wanting to know their purpose because sometimes going through the journey of what your purpose is can be you in the struggling season, even you in the what the F season, you know? So I would say being able to be courageous and stepping into your purpose is what you're here for. And after you realize that, hey, I have a purpose here, I want to be here, I want to stay here, I want to live here, but what the frick do I do? This is the time for you to figure out what you actually want. What is your favorite color? What is your favorite mind? What is your favorite TV show? What is your favorite cracker? What is your favorite cereal? And then also go into the deeper questions. Like a lot of people ask, of course, date questions to get to know the other person, but it's almost like you're dating yourself, but in a way where you know you're never going to leave yourself. Because again, circling back to purpose, your purpose has to coexist with you knowing that you were supposed to be here first. Then after you realize, hey, I actually kind of need to, of course, help other people or whatever your purpose is, as long as it's a positive purpose. But circling back to validating what you want, you go deeper. You look deeper within what you ask for. I'm going to read this statement really quick because this is what I wrote down. A chance to validate is a chance for you to see what you want, what you like, what you hate, and what you love is a you thing to want. Become the person you actually want to be by what works for you. I love that because being able to understand what you actually can do by actually knowing your identity is truly discernment. And discernment is a very powerful word because it's you having a security of knowing your capacity. If I were able to attach behaviors that connect to wanting to be able to validate what I would want is going to a place, trying some new food, and realizing I fucking hate it. Or even, of course, the trial and error of friendships, the trial and error of relationships. Those are, I would say, a little bit more spicy. They're a little bit more painful, but they definitely, of course, build character. And I think a lot of people will want to be able to build forms of character, but we don't see what's behind the door. And again, there's fear behind that, there's stress behind that. And even I would say there's not enough ability to even walk to the door because we don't want to be hurt. I would say a lot of us are just scared, and that makes sense. But we have to be a fan of ourselves and we have to be able to love ourselves enough to have a good relationship with our discernment. But then also, again, what we're here for, what we're chosen for, what we have a purpose in for. Now, to the next part, I'm going to read my statement. The way you're a fan of others is the way you need to become that vessel of love for yourself. And the first person I thought of when I wrote this down was if you know me, if you really know me, if you know me, if you even know a sliver of me, even if you hate me, you will know that I love Kaylani. I love Kaylani Ashley Paris. That is my sister. That is my girl. I've been loving her forever. But the way that I love her is the way I need to love myself. And before anything, you need to remove idolatry from your life. You need to remove idols from your life because whenever you put something before you, you kind of create a relationship where that has to be served to before you can even feed yourself. I've had idolatry in relationships to think that I needed to take care of people when in reality, I needed to take care of myself. In these past like 4 years, I've been in two relationships and I'm like, oh my God, these are too fast. 2 years in two relationships, I cannot keep doing this. Like, I also need to have a form of understanding what I like. And there's discomfort in that for me because ever since I was, 18, haven't been single. Like, I've been dating around. And even when I was in high school, there were people that I was even again serving idolatry to because I wanted to show them that I was worth something. When in reality, I should have kept that money to myself. I should have kept that time to myself. I should have kept, of course, even my value and my worth of what I actually wanted to myself. But I didn't do that because I, again, wanted to prove to something or somebody that my worth had to be even chosen from them or they had to give me some form of validation when that's just, again, not the way I needed to live. It makes you severely depressed. And then it also makes you go into a point where you think you need, again, other people when you don't need other people. Like I said in that last sentence, become the vessel of love that you would want for yourself. And what's important is you're basically redirecting it back into yourself. And I would say the actions that you would have to take to get to that point is to become a little bit more selfish with your time, a little bit more selfish with your money, a little bit more selfish with your boundaries. Because again, it's you. It's you wanting to be able to make sense to what makes sense. Again, to you. You're not going to waste your time listening to that person's voice memo or look at that person's like voice message, or you're not going to waste your time even answering that person's phone call or giving into the bait of distractions around you that can go into food, that can go into your mind, that can go into relationships, that can go into friendships. But being able to be, again, redirecting yourself back to what you know most about yourself and what you can be capable of. Because if you don't stay there, you're kind of like dissociating through life. And a lot of people don't wake up at the time that I did. I woke up at 21. Now, again, I had 2 years. I went to school. I dropped out. I didn't know what I wanted in my life. I had two relationships, and I was not, again, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. And then again, I hit that 21 mark, and on my birthday, I was just like, my brain, my brain. I was quiet, and I was just like, my brain, what the fuck, my brain. And I know that's not really a lot to explain, but the best way I could understand it was I realized how much around me was not centered in the love that I know I deserve for myself, but then also the love that I would want to give out to others. Because again, energy that you take out of your own body to give to people is something that you always, of course, can't bet on that will be given back to you. So again, you're making an exchange with your life, not being able to have something be given back to you in a positive manner, because again, you're making wrongful decisions or you're making choices that make you question what will actually be good for me, what will actually be great for me, when can I be this? When can I be that? And again, don't compare your own journey. But whenever you go into that delving moment of realizing, hey, I would want more for myself, that's an immediate moment that you have to figure out what you want. I would know what I would want. Now, am I the best person with decisions? Absolutely not. I'm human. I'm just like every single person that will want to hear this. The importance of knowing who you are is going back to the evidence that you are enough and that you were chosen in this life to experience what you are experiencing right now. And being able to validate what you want and becoming the person that you want that makes sense to you. Now, for the final part, I'm going to read. And this one's so deep and it connects literally to everything. Make a decision to get closer to discipline and becoming the kindest, but also the good version that you need to be. No matter who you lose, who you build with adds better to your life. And that's kind of deep. And it's kind of what I went on the whole rampant thing for on the third part. But it's important. I just literally got convicted earlier about this issue that I have been dealing with for since I was 13 years old. Heavy, heavy burden of mine, heavy burden of mine. I think what I've learned in that moment with my burden and how I had to carry it was how much it affected my entire life. Of course, even before that age of 13. That's the crazy part. It reverts all the way back to when I was a kid. Trauma plays a part in your life even when it's not noticeable. So again, I realize the good person that I needed to be does not reflect the actions that I was just convicted over. I had to cry. I had to tell myself you're going to get through it, you're going to get through it. But I got through it because I'm literally putting a breakthrough through my mind and realizing right now I can make more podcast episodes. I can make more, what is it called? Not just content, but purposeful things in my life. I can actually bear the fruit that I've always wanted to live because again, this is my program. I look, you want to make the name of this episode. Nobody is running the program better than you, sis. It's really the mind of what you want to have a relationship with. You have to be your biggest fan of yourself. You got to be able to look out for yourself and validate again what you would want, what you would like, and what you would hate and what you would love. And people might call this basics, but this is something that has had to be reiterated to my own mind because I didn't realize that I actually could live this life for me until I had my first therapy session. And I had my first therapy session when I was 19, 20 years old. I was, again, 13 when I was dealing with the conviction and dealing with the conviction of 7 years worth of, again, weight that was carrying or I was carrying for years. That is something that's so heavy. And all of us, of course, deal or bear with something that we just do not accept. And it holds us back and it makes us basically not really want to feel, again, important. So I, again, want to reiterate you becoming the person you dream of is truly behind that door that you are scared to look at. The thing that builds your character, the thing even that knocks you down, but you know you're determined to get right back up again. The thing that actually hurts you, it makes you question how you're going to live the next day. And I know that sounds crazy because it's your lowest low, but whenever you're at the lowest part of your low, why do you think that you can get lower when life does actually get better? The purpose of this entire episode is not for me to prove to myself that I can make an episode. It's for me to go back and listen to the person that I have changed into after my 30th episode. It's the person that I won't want to become after I'm able to hit milestones of the goals that I would want to have because I'm so determined in the discernment of my life. Again, not letting distractions be able to basically take a hoard over what you would want to do. Right now, I'm transparently getting myself right back up over and over and over again because it's hard. But then I realized every time I'm dealing with a hard moment, there's a sweetness of joys that always happen in my life. And those are the fruits of your life. You carry those and you pick those fruits because they're sweet and they are the blessings of what your life looks like. So, again, just to tell you, why not you? And why do you think anybody is bigger than the program? Because nobody is bigger than the program, your program. I am so happy I have made this episode. This is, I always say, is my favorite episode, but definitely this has been an eye opening experience for me to look at how I even intervene in my own life. Sometimes, of course, there's moments where you kind of even block your blessings because you don't want to be able to take that step. But every single time you do that, you're going to truly affect your life in a positive or a negative way. Look at who you are and look at what you want to become and see if it matches up with your life. And if it doesn't, change it. Remove anything that basically stops you from living what you would want to live in, but then also what builds your character that you are just required to go through on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, monthly basis, annual basis. That's again making you scared to open that door. And once you become scared of opening that door, who knows when that door is going to be open? You're going to leave it unattended and you'll be like, what? No, time will pass by. People are going to hit their goals because they didn't get scared of a door. Because guess what? There's most likely another door or there's most likely another experience. But after you have that experience, you are never going to be the person you were again. You can't mourn the person that you were because that person doesn't have the same discernment that you do. And I'm not gonna lie, there were parts of me that questioned, like, how am I gonna get into another relationship again? How am I gonna be in love again? How am I gonna look out for somebody again? How am I gonna be friends again? And then boom, God lands another blessing on my lap weeks later, days later, hours later, that makes me realize that's the whole point. I'm supposed to go through adversity to be able to be gifted the things that I want. Period. Well, I just want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I plan to be way more consistent because the Artist Way changed my life on that book. And then I also really, really, really love podcasting. I don't think that there is any other way for me to further explain how to help people. But I do also want to say thank you again for all my listeners. And if you do have any questions, go ahead and reach out to me on Behavioral Blueprint Pod on Instagram and all other social media platforms. And to my Apple Podcast listeners, thank you so much. And to my Spotify listeners, go ahead and follow and give us a 5-star rating down below. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to talk to you soon. See you later. Bye.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.